Hello, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues. My name is Maja Mladinov, and I am Croatian History Museum's librarian. My colleague and co-author, museum advisor Jelena Balog-Vojak, and I would like to share with you our presentation titled Crisis, Let's Digitize: How the Crisis Situation Affected the Process of Digitalization in a Museum. I would like to begin with a few words about the Croatian History Museum. The museum was established in 1846 as the National Museum with 4 departments, and in 1940, the Archaeological Historical Department was transformed into 2 independent museums, the Archaeological Museum and the Historical Museum. After the Second World War, it changed its name to the History Museum of Croatia, and since 1959, it has been operating in a Baroque palace located in Zagreb's Upper Town. In 1991, it was merged with the Museum of the People's Revolution of Croatia, founded in 1945, to create the Croatian History Museum. The museum holdings of the Croatian History Museum number more than 300,000 museum objects, systemized in 16 museum collections. Due to insufficient space, the museum operates without a permanent exhibition, but has a rich exhibition and publishing activity. For many years, as a part of its activities, the museum has been implementing projects that include digitization of museum material and museum documentation in order to protect it, increase its presentability and accessibility. On this occasion, we will be presenting 2 significant digitization projects that have been underway during the last few years. The first project that we would like to present to you is the digitization of Croatian History Museum's publications. Croatian History Museum is an institution with a 170-year history of museum activity. During its long existence, it has published a significant number of publications related to thematic exhibitions and exhibitions of collections from its rich holdings. Some of these publications are no longer available to the general public and needed to be digitized in order to make them available again on the museum's website. In order to achieve this, the project of digitization and publication of inaccessible publications of the Croatian History Museum was designed. It was developed by the museum's employees from the Department of Documentation and the library. The project's main goal was the complete digitization of 115 different publications, catalogs, leaflets, booklets, brochures, and guides, with a total of about 4,500 pages. All digitized publications were to be text searchable and available in full text PDF on the Croatian History Museum's website. The aim of the project was to improve the availability and to facilitate access to museums' publications. It also emphasized the need for more permanent preservation of the content of the Croatian History Museum's publishing activity. The selection criteria for digitization were published by the Croatian History Museum, including the publications of the History Museum of Croatia and the Museum of the People's Revolution of Croatia, as both these institutions were the predecessors of the Croatian History Museum. Second was the unavailability of copies, meaning that the publication might not be available for sale, there might be only a few copies left, or there are older publications prone to damage. And third is the focus on user needs, which would entail text searchable, full text availability of the content of the publication on the museum's website. For the needs of the project and with the financial support of the Ministry of Culture and Media of the Republic of Croatia, an overhead-style contactless scanner was acquired. The device enabled the digitization of publications with their maximum preservation. The possibility of obtaining a quality digital copy without pressing the publication and damaging the binding. It was used mainly for the scanning of larger publications, while for smaller publications like leaflets and booklets, we used a flatbed scanner. In 2019, A total of 137 different types of publications with a total of approximately 6,000 pages was digitized, which is more than originally planned. All publications were scanned and then converted to text searchable documents using EBI Fine Reader OCR software. Their publication on the museum's website started in 2020 and is an ongoing project. With it, the Croatian History Museum has revived publications that are no longer available for sale or can no longer be found outside the museum. Bearing in mind the frequency and the content of user inquiries about older publications, these digitized publications will certainly facilitate the efforts of scientists, researchers, and other interested users. All Croatian History Museum's digitized publications that are out of print and can no longer be bought are available in open access in full text PDF on the Croatian History Museum's website. Now, if I would like to show you the website. I hope you can see it. When you get to the project's website, you can access menu from the link in the text. And I would like to show you some of those publications. For example, the oldest leaflet you can find was published in 1954 by the History Museum of Croatia for the exhibition Croatian National Movement. It has only 3 pages of text that elaborates on the theme of the exhibition. The oldest booklet is from 1961. It was published by the Museum of the People's Revolution of Croatia. It elaborates the theme of the exhibition on 15 pages. And here we have an example of an exhibition guide from 1958. It is basically a leaflet, but it guides you through exhibition space by defining topics in each room of the museum. And finally, I'd like to show you 3 museum catalogs. First one, published in 1957 by the Museum of the People's Revolution of Croatia, is a booklet-like publication with mere 20 pages and few illustrations, black and white illustrations, and it deals with the topic of the emergence of Yugoslav army. The second catalog is from 1971. It is larger in size and has more pages than the previous one. It also has better quality illustrations printed on glossy paper, but they are not embedded in text. They are printed binded at the end of the publication. And finally, the third exhibition catalog is from 1986, and it is yet bigger and has color illustrations embedded in text. I would like to note that it is interesting to observe how catalogs have changed over the years, from small leaflet-like editions with smaller number of pages and few illustrations to large, they richly illustrated larger editions with as many as a few hundred pages. The second project that we would like to present is the digitization of museum material. As we already mentioned, the Croatian History Museum has more than 300 museum objects that represent cultural heritage that needs to be additionally preserved by digitization. 1 museum photographer, 1 documentalist, and 1 IT specialist are continuously working on the digitization of museum material. Although the beginnings of this process in the Croatian History Museum date back to 2008, systemized continuous digitization started more recently in 2013. It should be emphasized that digitization does not only mean the technical production of digital copies of objects, but also the creation of metadata. The purpose of digitizing material is to protect the original, improve its accessibility, and create new products. By providing access to digital copies, digitization indirectly protects the material through reduction of use of the originals, which improves their preservation. By using a digital copy, the original can be permanently stored in controlled conditions in a depot, which is especially important for more sensitive items, such as old manuscripts written on various substrates, newspapers, photonegatives, etc. The possibility of publishing digital copies on the internet completely changes the concept of access to and use of cultural and historical heritage. Digitization provides access to material from a distance, which significantly affects its use in interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary scientific and educational projects that explore a particular topic, author, or historical period. Also, the museum can present its material on websites while expanding its user community, making its services more visible and attracting new types of users. The creation of new products is closely linked to the improvement of availability of museum materials. Digitization enables us to offer new services to users that would not be possible or would be difficult to implement outside the electronic environment. They are created by combining digital content with metadata on digital material in real or virtual systems. An example of such possibilities is the project Memories of the 20th Century. This project digitized over 1,000 items, most of them documents, and is available on a separate website. This is the website, Memories of the 20th Century. This website exhibits records of individual lives, personal documents and memories, incomplete and subjective, occasionally not very relevant, nor even realistic, but still authentic, unique and valuable testimonies to the time of their origin. The documentary material illustrates the fates of people who lived in Croatian cultural and historical areas during the extremely dynamic and turbulent, chaotic and controversial period known as the short 20th century. Also, the website intends to accomplish several equally important objectives. Number one, to underscore the potential of individual subjective experiences in the course of the long-term development of Croatian socio-political and cultural life. And second, to draw attention to the importance of the Croatian History Museum's documentary materials in the interpretation of recent national history. And just to show you, for example, the legacy of the Bai family. Their legacy is quite interesting because it covers a period of almost full 100 years. It includes personal and official documents, photographs, postcards, and other documentary material. When we talk about the selection of material for digitization, the basic criteria are activities scheduled by the Croatian History Museum's program, meaning the digitization needed for exhibitions and or publications. Digitization at users' request, since annually, the museum has about 120 user inquiries that vary from a single copy to dozens of copies of digitized material. At the same time, attempts are being made to systematically digitize collections. As some of the Croatian History Museum's collections are extremely large in number, systematic digitization is relatively slow and is supplemented by the previously mentioned criteria. The purpose of digitization, as well as the criteria according to which it takes place in the museum, demonstrated its importance in early 2020 when the world, including Croatia, faced a new challenge, a pandemic of a formerly unknown virus called SARS-CoV-19. As a consequence, a lockdown ensued, and all services that weren't necessary were closed, including the museums. Working conditions changed additionally on 22nd of March 2020, when Zagreb was hit by a strong 5.5 magnitude earthquake. The museum, situated in the Baroque palace built in 1764, suffered significant structural damage that considerably disrupted the static of the building. As a result, even after the implementation of strict epidemiological measures and the reopening of heritage institutions, the museum remained closed until further notice. It is important to point out that only the museum building was damaged in the earthquake, while the museum material fortunately remained undamaged. Only few items suffered minor damage. All this has made museums functioning quite difficult and challenging. For a year now, all museums' activities have been taking place in a virtual environment. Virtual exhibitions and regular posts on social networks like Facebook and Instagram. Also a newsletter, Hismos kod vas, which loosely translates to Croatian History Museum comes to you, has been launched. Also, users are now able to get insight into the museum material without physically coming to the museum by email. This testifies to the ability of maintaining contact with users despite the closure of the museum. When we talk about virtual exhibitions, we should emphasize that their advantage is wide accessibility, minimum cost, and no requirement of physical space. The museum published its first virtual exhibition in 2011, and since then, in addition to physical exhibitions, it has published virtual ones with a similar theme. With the arrival of the pandemic and the earthquake, the museum has intensified publication of virtual exhibitions that became the only available form of exhibition activities. And here is on Croatian page, you can find 19 virtual exhibitions, and on English, there are 4. All these activities would not be possible without a large amount of digitized material. And it is now clear that the crisis highlighted the importance of the digitization process. It has proven crucial to have digitized heritage in order to create new products and enable new access to it. From all of the above, we can see that the crisis caused by the pandemic and the earthquake most certainly accelerated the publication of digital content created by the long-term process of digitization of heritage in the museum. It is of utmost importance to continue this process because you never know when a new crisis will occur. Thank you.